Slide over.
Yeah, but a little closer together.
Okay,
Sure.
So welcome everybody. It is Thursday at 3 p.m. I'm with my preferred closing attorney, David Robertson with Universal Title. David and I have worked really closely together for ballpark 12 years now. Again, I'm Mike Korin with Classic Realty, been full-time in the industry since 2002. In today's opening topic, we are going to discuss buyer closing cost credits. Now, if you're not able to watch this live and you don't have a full 10 minutes to come back and watch this, we do have another camera running in the background. I do have a YouTube show called How to Buy and Sell Homes in Northern Virginia. So these Facebook Lives, we're going to take the highlights, we're going to get questions that you're bringing to us live and getting answered. We're going to edit out all the minutia and just kind of chunk it down to what's important to you. So again, if you can't see this live, go to your YouTube search engine, type in Mike Korin or How to Buy and Sell Homes in Northern Virginia. You can get all the highlights of this. But again, today's opening topic is going to be buyer closing cost credits. There's a lot of names for that, so we can call that buyer concessions, closing cost credits, seller subsidies. The first thing that I want to say is it's not fishy business. And that's a question I get quite a bit. You see that too, even on your end, because you're getting it.
Sure.
At the final stage, you hear that.
Yeah, sometimes.
Normally it's the sellers, and normally it's sellers, I think when the last time they bought was 20, 30, 40 years ago. I'm not sure if this existed. That was before my time. I've been full-time in 16 years. It is not fishy business. It's a regular part of the buying experience. So why would anyone ask for a buyer closing cost credit? Now, anybody can ask for a buyer credit, but typically it's going to be somebody that needs help getting into the house. Now, there are some rules. Now, when a buyer wants to buy the new home of choice, they're going to have two upfront fees, two really obvious ones, and that's going to be their down payments, and then the other one is their closing cost credits. Now, via the lender rules, they are going to be forced to pay their own down payment, but they can get seller assistance to cover those closing costs. And that's going to be ballpark 2 to 3% in closing costs, and that's attorney fees, taxes associated with it, lender fees, termite inspections, all that kind of good stuff. So the buyer, let's say they're working for 2-3 years, they save up just enough money, they have that down payment, they may not have money for the closing costs. They're going to ask the seller, please help us out with that. Seller, I'm going to encourage you, again, this is not fishy business. Now, your proper good realtors and your closing attorney is just going to do a net sheet for you, and what are you actually putting in your pocket in the end. That's all that's going to matter, not fishy business at all. So just look at your net. If it hits your sweet spot, please don't take it personally. The buyer's not pulling a fast one on you. I get that question a lot from sellers. Now, we're not going to be taking any questions yet, but please form your questions, bring them in. We want to just talk about this up front, and then we're going to jump into questions. So there are limits to how much a buyer closing cost credit can be, and there are different rules, whether if it's VA, whether it's conventional, etc. Now, with a VA loan, which I really love, I'll talk about that one, David, the conventional, is if we have an excess of buyer closing cost credits, more than the buyer's actual closing costs, VA will actually allow that buyer to pay off maybe some car loan payments or even credit card debt, student loans. VA, those that have served our country, congratulations, it's a great program. And even occasionally what I see is if it's a conventional loan, there's going to be an excess of credits, and then we invite in David to get creative when he can. He can't always, but he's very good at figuring out what are some ways they can spend that extra money.
If the home's in an HOA or a condo, the lender will usually let seller pay on behalf of the buyer up to 1 year of future HOA or condo dues. That can be really helpful. Also, maybe for taxes, they might be able to prepay some of the property taxes. Ultimately, it's up to the lender. The lender's got to say if it's okay, but there can usually be creative ways to use that up. Sometimes the buyer can even get better loan terms. In fact, I just came out of a closing where that happened.
It's last minute they can buy down the rate, maybe?
That's correct. That's also talk to the lender, and if it's called paying points up front, if you're familiar with that. It just means you can pay extra money up front to get a lower interest rate. And here to use up closing cost credits out of a settlement I just walked out of, about $5,000 the buyer used to buy down the interest rate. I don't recall what normally it would have been, but it made a significant difference in the monthly payment on the loan and ultimately how much interest you pay over life of the loan if you have a lower interest rate, of course. So that's one way to do it as well.
They give the buyer just the relief they need.
Yeah.
And then now there's two kinds of closing cost credits. There's the upfront one during the negotiations. So let's say there's a house for sale for $500,000. The buyer may say, hey, seller, I'll give it to you for $500,000. I will need $10,000 back in assistance. The seller's net is $490,000. There's a second version, and that's usually going to be your home inspection closing cost credits. And then what's going to happen there is, after the buyer does the home inspection, whatever, there's a leaky sink, the dishwasher doesn't work, there's a cracked window, they could say, hey, they have a negotiation period, typically about 3 days. They negotiate, saying, hey, give me $500, seller, for those repairs. Now, I do want to say, on average, I actually track the analytics to bring it back to you. My average closing cost credits in 2017 exchange via the home inspection was only $1,100. It's not a huge number. So what I think that means to you as the buyer is to help just to frame yourself, because sometimes I do have buyers that say, well, hey, we're going to go under contract, we're going to totally renegotiate, and we're going to try and knock $25,000 off the sales price at the home inspection. It's just not going to work. The seller is going to say no. I mean, my 16 years, I don't think I've ever seen that before. So occasionally I'll see a $4,000 or $5,000. If we have a furnace that's totally dead, but normally it's a smaller amount, $500, $1,000, $2,000. Somewhere in there. Anything you want to add? Or I got a few things I'd like to say.
Just that it's negotiable. I mean, the buyer can ask for anything. They can ask for the world. Doesn't mean the seller has to agree to it. And a lot of what comes down to closing cost credit, what it ends up being, is driven by the market. So if you're in a certain market, like we are now maybe, or just a certain home that's really desirable, there's a lot of offers, all things else being equal, if one particular buyer asks for a closing cost credit and the other buyers don't, that's not going to bode well for getting your offer accepted. And I know it's a conversation Mike has with buyers all the time. And you see that there are multiple offers, and buyer wants a big closing cost credit. Mike's probably going to say, do you really want this house?
Well, do it if you want, but you're not going to get the house.
You might not get the house. So it's a negotiable thing. It's not just something the buyer can cram down the seller's throat. It's totally negotiable.
But now in the example we gave, a $500,000 house, if the buyer does need $10,000 closing cost credits, we can actually offer more than the list price.
Yeah.
If we think that the house will appraise at $510,000, buyer can say, hey, we will offer you $510,000, we want $10,000 back. The seller is able to hit their net, everyone goes to closing. So we will always try our best. If a buyer needs help and they can't buy otherwise, we just try. We are in a market, Northern Virginia. Bidding wars are part of what we do. We're not afraid of them. Buyers, sellers. Sellers aren't going to be buyers. You cannot be afraid of bidding wars. You'll always get your house. It might take you 2, 3, 4, 5 tries, but you'll get it. I don't think I've ever had anyone that's ended up with their tail between their legs. It tends to be a several-month experience. This is not a weekend buying a house. So do we have any questions that you'd like to bring to us right now while we are live? And again, now for those of you that are watching this after the fact, we have another camera running in the background. And what we're going to be doing is taking all the highlights of our Thursday at 3 p.m. shows. We will be putting them into YouTube. If you look up in your YouTube search engine, Mike Korin, or How to Buy and Sell Homes in Northern Virginia, that is my YouTube show. We'll be having the highlights of these Thursday at 3 p.m. sessions going on there. But again, if you have any questions, any thoughts, please bring them to us now. We got a couple more minutes left in this episode, and we'd love to hear from you. Now, I really like what you said about bidding wars, by the way, and you did steal my next topic, and that was that it's always dependent. We cannot always get that credit, but I think bidding wars would be a great conversation for next Thursday at 3 p.m. So if you're watching this or watching this after the fact, you have a question on bidding wars, you're afraid of them, something I get a lot all the time is buyers coming to me saying, Mike, I want to buy a house, but I do not want to get involved in a bidding war, so skip those houses. You're just not going to get the house you want. I mean, everyone wants these same houses. So don't be afraid of it. We'll coach you on that. We'll hold your hand. And it's not our first time. You can feel comfortable when you work with David, Greg, our lender, and I. We've done it before, so we'll help you out with that. How is local housing market being affected by interest rates? So rates have creeped up a little. talked about this last Thursday, is everyone says, hey, I 4.5%, but now it could be 4.25% to 4.5%. People still do want to buy. And you know what? A year, 2 years now, they're going to be 5%. They're going to wish they bought at 4.5%. I'm going to encourage you guys to buy. Now, I'm a realtor. I've had an opportunity to refinance. I have 4.625% on my primary residence. Whatever you're buying at today is even much better than I have. You know, I chose, and everyone's a personal decision, I chose not to refinance. I'm going for the long haul. I'm going to get my 30-year loan paid off rather than restarting that clock. So, you know, 4.5, 4.25, you guys are doing great. You know, kudos to you. Take advantage of the market. Just about out of time. So anything else you want to add? Otherwise, we'll close out.
Just with the question on interest rates, I've been suspicious out there that the fear of interest rates growing has caused some people to jump off the fence and say, okay, it's time. I got to get into the market. I got to buy a home. Rates are going to keep going up, and I'm going to stop renting. And I think that's been happening out there. They've not been going so high yet to, I think, affect too many people in whether they can buy at all or not. It's still a very good time to buy. The rates haven't made it so much that people think it's better to rent. That they still want to go forward and buy a home if the rates, as long as the rates are still there. But they haven't scared people away. In fact, it may be the opposite. If that was where the question is coming from, maybe it made people jump into the market where they were waiting a little bit longer otherwise.
I do think it's all relative as well, because when I started in 2002, it was all the hype. Rates are only 6%. Hurry up and buy while rates are low. So we're just coming out of literally historic lows where you could buy below 4%. That's a historic low. So guys, we are just one little above historic lows. It's a great time. So I'd encourage everyone to take advantage. Thanks, David.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank
See
you
all next Thursday, 3 p.m. Please bring your questions to us. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Let's close up here, David, because she's just going to edit it.